Study shows that less than half of Irish parents read to their children daily, with 29% saying they never do. The survey was carried out by St.Michael's House, one of Ireland's largest providers of community-based services for children and adults with an intellectual disability. Their head of communications, Barbara Wiseman, joins me now. Barbara, good morning.
Good morning, Alison.
Thanks for joining us this morning. First of all, Barbara, could you tell us what are the benefits to reading with children, first of all?
I suppose our campaign today is trying to exactly that, promote children for reading, or reading for children. Our Bring a Book, Buy a Book campaign is asking people to host a Bring a Book, Buy a Book campaign in their business, school or club, or indeed their home. And we're asking people to bring in their second-hand books from home and buy those donated by their colleagues for €2. And the essence of our campaign, which is in its 9th year, is to put books back in the hands of children and indeed adults. And as you've mentioned, our survey does show that 68% of children under 12 have a device. They're using more screen time and less reading of books. So our campaign this year is asking people to go techno, to close a screen and open a book. And we're not saying that technology is bad, because we indeed use technology here in St. Michael's House to advance our services for intellectual disability. But we are saying that books are good. And we do believe that getting back, using the child to use their imagination, read a book and create their own images in their head rather than get them directly from a screen. So we're asking people to close a screen and open a book this week for a book week.
Now, books would have always formed part of a bedtime routine as well, I think, for children, but we're losing that as well, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, and I'm a parent myself, and it's very easy to give a child a screen because in this busy environment that we live in, it's constant. Everything is on screen, and even double screening all the time. You're watching telly and you're still scrolling on your phone. So parents have, our survey has looked at that 1 in 4 parents have replaced bedtime reading with screen time. And I know certainly for the generation gone before, books were a bedtime routine, and that's being replaced now with screen time. We're not saying that it's bad. We actually don't know if children are reading online. We do believe that a lot of online screening is gaming, activities, and indeed watching TV. So from that point, we're looking for people to remember that their childhood was with books. Bring their kids to the library, put books back in the child's hand, and help them use their imagination and become familiar with book reading. So that's what we're encouraging this week, and the funds that are raised from our campaign are supporting children with intellectual disabilities. We can only do this campaign with our associated people that we do it with, which are NALA, Children Books Ireland, and indeed World Book Day, which takes place tomorrow, March the 2nd.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to ask you, when it comes to modern times, I mean, there was nothing better, I think, as a child than to curling up on a parent's lap and reading a book. We've definitely lost that now. How can you start encouraging that in a child's life and maybe cutting back on the screen time? Yeah,
and I think that's what our survey has showed, unfortunately, that there's more screen time and less reading. So we're trying to encourage parents to put the book back in the hands of children. And World Book Day tomorrow encourages children. They give them book tokens, which allows them through their schools to go to their local bookshop and purchase a book at a discounted or free price for World Book Day. So it's encouraging children to go back and start reading. And our book campaign is encouraging children and adults to buy a book for €2, to recycle the books that they've read, give away the old stories and buy a new story for €2. So it is about encouraging families, particularly children and parents, to be able to do that and give children an option to go back and start reading an old-fashioned good book and using their imagination. That's one of the things that a lot of our survey has said is replacing children's imagination, but indeed articles in the paper of recent times within the Irish Times and within the Independent of saying that there's more screen time and less reading. So it's trying to reduce that, and we're asking people to just consider that for our Bring a Book, Buy a Book campaign week from the 1st to the 8th of March.
And for people who are looking for those events in their local area, where can they get that?
Yeah, we're very lucky. We have 200 locations, companies and schools that are taking part this week doing the book campaign. You can also do a Bring a Book, Buy a Book. You can host it yourself within your school or club. And we would say for our listeners down in Tipperary, if there's a school or a club out there, we do fundraise, and we realise that they fundraise as well. So we do a 50-50 split with the school.
Okay.
So a school wants to take part, they give half the money back to St. Michael's House, where children have bought a new book for €2, which is a good bargain. And also 50% of that goes back to the school to indeed encourage their own library and their own literacy organisation and campaigns that we do know are needed and fundraised within the schools. So that's something that the people of your listeners today can certainly do within their schools or club, and indeed in their home. We have parents indeed within St. Michael's House and local communities here have hosted their own coffee morning, invited their friends in and asked for €2 per book. And it's a great social interactive way. It's also a great way of recycling your books and, closing the screen and opening a book for this week.
Okay, Barbara, we'll have to leave it there for this morning. Thank you so much for telling us about that, and we'd encourage everyone to get involved. Thank you, Barbara.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Alison.
No problem. That's Barbara Wiseman, their Head of Communications at St. Michael's House. And there we leave it for today. Today's qualifier.